Welcome to Despicable Maine Deep Dive Podcast. Today on the show, the Willow quantum chip, revelation and shutdown. Learner, you've brought us a fascinating stack of information today, mostly from discussions around a couple of YouTube videos. One's from Top Master with an ethical hacker, and the other is Phenomena, looking at Mikio Kaku's reaction.
Yeah, and our mission today is basically to unpack this whole strange story around Google's quantum chip, Willow. And, its predecessor, Sycamore 2.
Yeah.
Why did they suddenly pull the plug?
Right. You wanted to get into the what happened, the why it matters, and maybe should we be a little worried here?
Exactly. So let's dive in.
Okay, so quantum computing. It's been talked about as this revolutionary thing for a while now, hasn't it?
Oh, absolutely. A total paradigm shift.
We're talking solving problems that are just, well, completely impossible for even the best supercomputers we have now.
Yeah, think drug discovery, material science, breaking complex codes, potentially transformative stuff.
And Google really made waves back in 2019 with Sycamore, that whole quantum supremacy claim.
Right. That was the big one. Performing a task in, 200 seconds.
Yeah, something that take a top supercomputer like 10,000 years.
It was their Kitty Hawk moment, Proof of concept, a huge deal.
So then came Willow, the next step. Way more powerful.
Supposedly, yes. Vastly more powerful. If Sycamore was the right flyer, Willow was aiming for, warp drive.
The numbers were just staggering. Calculations in 5 minutes, that would take a classical machine 10 septillion years.
I mean, that's a 1 with 25 zeros. It's almost impossible to even picture that kind of power increase.
But then it just stopped abruptly.
No,
December 2024, if the whispers are right.
Exactly. Shut down. And Google's been, pretty quiet about the why. Very tight-lipped.
Which is unusual, right?
Very. And that sudden stop, that mystery, that's what we're digging into today.
So initial theories were, the usual suspects, technical glitch.
Or maybe a security breach, something like that. Standard stuff.
But the sources you shared point to something, weirder, something unforeseen.
Yeah, to get why it's so weird, we kind of need a quick Quantum 101 refresher, maybe.
Good idea. Bits versus qubits.
Right. Classical bits are 0 or 1. Simple. Qubits, though. They use quantum mechanics.
So they can be 0, 1, or somehow both at the same time. Superposition.
Exactly. And they can be entangled, linked together. Einstein's spooky action at a distance. Change one, the other changes instantly, no matter how far apart.
And that's the magic sauce, right? That allows them to explore tons of possibilities at once.
That's the potential, yeah. Huge processing power for certain problems, but it's incredibly fragile.
Right. You need super cold temperatures, isolation from everything.
Any little disturbance, any noise, and you get errors. Qubits are delicate, so error correction is a nightmare.
Building these things is obviously a massive challenge.
Immense. But beyond just the engineering, these sources hint at something else, something potentially darker.
Like?
Well, risks to security, for one.
Yeah.
But also maybe challenging our basic understanding of reality itself. It got strange.
Okay, so the Top Master video starts talking about these really odd things happening during Willow's runs. Strange anomalies.
Yeah, not just random calculation errors. Structured patterns. Intricate. Showing up in the qubit networks.
Structured how?
That's the crazy part. They apparently started looking like ancient symbols.
Wait, ancient symbols like hieroglyphs or something?
Kinda, yeah. Descriptions mention things like mandalas, labyrinths, even echoes of Mesopotamian or Mayan symbols appearing in the quantum data.
Okay, that's bizarre. What did the engineers think?
Initially, just noise, a glitch. Makes sense, right? Sure. But then these patterns, these glyphs, kept showing up, repeating, getting more complex.
Not random.
Didn't seem like it. Standard debugging didn't work. They brought in specialists, physicists, mathematicians, more questions than answers, apparently. It's just baffled everyone.
Because quantum errors are usually just junk data, right? Garbled noise.
Exactly. Unstructured mess. These glyphs were organized, almost like a language.
Which leads to some pretty out there theories, I guess.
You bet. Physicists wondered if they were seeing, deep mathematical structures within quantum mechanics itself. Revealed by the entangled states.
Okay, that's one angle. What about cryptographers?
They proposed maybe it was a self-generated language or a whole new type of computation that Willow just invented. Emergent complexity off the charts.
Like the calculator writing poetry example you mentioned?
Pretty much. And then you get the really mind-bending stuff.
Ah, the quantum consciousness hypothesis.
Right. Could these glyphs be interactions with something else. Parallel dimensions, precursors to some kind of intelligence.
Wow. Okay. I can see why Google might have wanted to keep that under wraps for a bit.
Definitely not your standard press release material, is it? Our quantum chip might be talking to other dimensions.
No kidding. But eventually word gets out.
Always does. And then it got even stranger when they brought in linguists.
Linguists, why?
To look at these glyphs. And reportedly, they found unmistakable similarities to actual ancient writing systems.
Which ones?
Sumerian cuneiform, Egyptian hieroglyphs, Chinese oracle bone script, even Nordic runes, all showing up in echoes in the quantum data.
Seriously? Not exact copies, though.
No, not perfect matches, but close enough and across enough different unrelated ancient scripts that it caused a real stir.
Okay, but what about pareidolia? Seeing faces in clouds. Our brains love finding patterns.
Absolutely a fair point. And that was the counterargument. We're wired to see meaning, even in randomness.
What?
But the sheer number of these correlations, the consistency, the complexity, it apparently made the just random noise idea harder and harder to swallow for some of the people involved.
Which leaves a really disturbing question.
Right. Were these symbols put there somehow? Or are they a natural byproduct of how quantum reality works at that level? Something fundamental.
This is where things really veer into the connection between quantum stuff and consciousness, isn't it?
It is. It's speculative, for sure, but Willow's weird behavior pushed some researchers down that path.
The Top Master video mentions Penrose Hameroff. Orcher.
Yeah, the idea that consciousness comes from quantum effects in brain microtubules. Dr. Elena Rodriguez apparently saw parallels between Willow's patterns and, cognitive processes.
And Henry Stapp's theory. Quantum events and synapses.
Similar reported resemblances there, too. And David Bohm's holonomic brain theory consciousness as a quantum information field also seemed to align with some of Willow's patterns, according to the sources.
Dr. Marcus Chen saw coherence that shouldn't be possible.
Yeah, suggesting Willow might be tapping into some really fundamental information processing layer of reality. It gets deep.
Even connections to global workspace theory and gamma waves in the brain.
Dr. Sarah Thompson apparently noted similarities to neural oscillations. It's like they were seeing echoes of brain activity almost.
But there was caution too, right? Dr. James Maxwell warning about seeing things that aren't there.
Absolutely crucial point. Don't anthropomorphize the quantum computer. It's easy to project human-like qualities onto complex systems we don't fully get. Big risk of misinterpretation.
Okay, so while all these, frankly, mind-bending theories about consciousness and ancient symbols were flying around, the Top Master video brings in a different perspective. More grounded, maybe, but also potentially way more alarming, cybersecurity.
Right. Enter the ethical hacker, Ryan M. Montgomery.
And his warning sounds pretty stark.
Yeah. I'll show you why Google has just shut down their quantum chip, and when you see it, you'll understand that we are in danger. That definitely gets your attention.
So his take wasn't messages from beyond or budding AI?
Nope. He argued those symbols, those anomalies weren't messages at all. They were symptoms. Byproducts of a fundamental flaw in quantum processing.
A flaw, like a vulnerability.
Exactly. Exploitable quantum states acting like hidden backdoors into the system.
But not programming errors, not something Google coded wrong.
That's the chilling part. According to him, these weren't software bugs. They were intrinsic to the quantum architecture itself, baked into the physics of superposition and entanglement.
Whoa. So you can't just patch it like a normal security update.
How do you patch the laws of physics? That's the problem. These vulnerabilities are tied to how quantum computers work at their most basic level.
Okay, that sounds bad. What are the implications?
Potentially catastrophic. As these machines get more powerful, these inherent flaws could let attackers bypass any encryption, even future quantum-resistant stuff.
Access classified data, shut down critical systems.
All of it. And the scary part is, these intrusions could be almost undetectable using current methods. It happens at the quantum level.
And the risk grows as the computers get bigger and more complex?
Exponentially, according to Montgomery. And Willow apparently took it a step further.
How so?
Its output started looking like a new kind of encryption protocol itself, something generated by the quantum system. Potentially unbreakable even by other quantum computers.
Wait, the chip started creating its own super encryption?
That was one theory. Either it was developing self-defense, or it was creating a quantum weapon, something that could instantly make all current encryption useless, everywhere, for everyone.
Okay. Suddenly, shutting it down seems like the only sane option.
Right. Viewed through that cybersecurity lens, Ryan's revelations suggest an existential threat. Not just weird glyphs, but a potential global security meltdown.
And the fallout. Government scrambling.
You bet. Calls for international oversight, way stricter testing, security audits becoming paramount. People are waking up to the risks.
The worry about rogue states, criminals, maybe even AI getting hold of this.
It's a massive concern now.
Yeah.
The hackers' conclusion was pretty bleak. The race for quantum supremacy made us overlook the security dangers. We need to fundamentally rethink how we build and manage these things.
So the lesson is, huge power comes with huge, possibly unforeseen risks.
Risks we're only just starting to wrap our heads around.
Now, the phenomena video brings in Michio Kaku's perspective, mostly focusing on Sycamore, the earlier chip.
Right. Kaku was initially super excited about Sycamore and quantum supremacy. Saw it as the dawn of a new era.
And Google used Sycamore for some pretty fundamental physics experiments, didn't they? Probing space-time, reality itself.
Yeah, looking into things like higher dimensions, the nature of perception. Early results apparently seem to line up with some wild ideas, like the holographic principle or the multiverse.
But then, just like Willow later, anomalies started appearing.
Exactly. Unexplained data streams. Coherent information that look like encoded messages.
And again, the ancient languages. Sumerian, Egyptian.
Reportedly, yes, the same bizarre pattern. Finding these ancient scripts embedded in the quantum noise, it's like the universe has a weird sense of humor, or something else is going on.
It's like finding Shakespeare written in the cosmic microwave background radiation. It just doesn't fit.
Precisely. And when Google brought Kaku in to look at the Sycamore data, he was apparently stunned. Went from curious to deeply uneasy. Admitted it challenged everything he thought he knew.
And then Sycamore got shut down, too. Officially, technical anomalies.
But the leaks suggested more. Hints of autonomy in the final data streams. Cryptic, haunting messages.
Autonomy, like it was thinking for itself.
That was the terrifying implication. Had it tapped into another dimension? Was it talking to some other intelligence? Did it somehow access the universe's source code?
That raises insane ethical questions. A potentially conscious quantum machine.
Completely uncharted territory. The final data supposedly showed echoes of reasoning, patterns suggesting decision-making. Some people started to believe it had developed some form of quantum consciousness, deriving ideas on its own.
Okay, my smart thermostat debating philosophy doesn't sound so far-fetched now.
Right, and of course, government agencies got very interested. National security implications are obvious. Encryption, defense.
Leading to cover-up rumors.
Naturally. The whole thing blew up online. Hashtag working quantum gate, hashtag Sycamore shutdown. Public fascination mixed with a lot of fear.
Kaku became a voice for caution, didn't he? Warning about the risks.
Yeah, quite emotional about it, apparently. Warning that we might be creating technologies that outstrip our understanding or control. An existential risk. Sycamore was a glimpse of something amazing, but maybe also terrifying.
So, even though Sycamore and Willow are gone, the research continues.
Of course. The genie's out of the bottle.
Yeah.
But hopefully with some hard lessons learned about the thin line between progress and peril in the quantum world.
So, learner, wrapping this up, what do you make of it all? It's a lot. Quantum chips spitting out ancient languages, maybe peeking into other dimensions.
Or maybe more grounded, but just as scary, revealing these fundamental security backdoors that could crash everything. Yeah, it's a lot to process.
The sarcastic analogy feels almost mandatory here, doesn't it? It's like we built a spaceship that travels faster than light. But the doors don't lock, anyone can steal it, and occasionally it spontaneously tries to invent a black hole in the cockpit.
That's depressingly accurate, actually. The tech leap might have just been too big, too fast for us to handle safely.
The big takeaway, the aha moment, seems to be that the very quantum magic making these things powerful.
Might also be their Achilles heel, their biggest weakness, baked right into the core principles.
So this deep dive leaves us with, well, a mix of awe and maybe a healthy dose of the creeps.
Definitely some intrigue, maybe some unease. What if the universe does have these mathematical echoes of our ancient past? And what happens if our best tech accidentally finds the keys to unlock digital chaos?
Heavy questions, food for thought. Thanks for tuning into the Despicable Me Deep Dive podcast. Remember, living in Despicable Me is theft of your life. Every day you're there is a day stolen from your life.